dirt. Here are your gloves. They just look like gardening gloves, but I think it's kind of nice that they were included with the kit. And then I really feel like they thought of everything. Safety glasses. They have an extra chain. Here's your oil bottle. Anytime you have a rechargeable tool like this, having 2 batteries is essential because you can go use one, use it up, come back, get the new battery, put it in, and not have to stop your day's work. So I was very disappointed in them when I thought there was only 1 battery. I have bought tools before where there was only 1 battery. One, for instance, is my Husqvarna electric chainsaw. It only has 1 battery, and the batteries are like $300. And so the batteries last a very, very, very long time, a couple hours. Those batteries last a long time. But again, it's always nice to have 2 batteries. So once I saw that there were 2 batteries, I'm like, okay, then where's the charging hub? And I was like, oh no, where's the charging hub? Do you charge it in the chainsaw? Started looking around, and ta-da! It doesn't need a charging hub. It just plugs in. The cord just plugs directly into the battery, and then you plug it in as well. All right, so here's the piece de resistance, the chainsaw itself. I have not used it yet. The only thing I have done is charge the batteries, but this is what it looks like. This is the screw. You would lift this up and use it to unscrew your chain, to remove your chain. So that I know with my Husqvarna, I had to add oil to a reservoir inside the chainsaw. You don't add fuel to an electric chainsaw, but you do have to add oil somewhere. On this one, I don't see somewhere as a reservoir. I think that maybe you dropper oil in between uses, so we'll have to read the instructions on that one. It does have a notice that says continuous working may cause the chainsaw to enter over temperature protection state. When cooling to a safe temperature, the chainsaw will return to normal working condition. And let's see, it's not heavy, it's super lightweight. Let's see if I can get that on. When cutting a limb that is under pressure, be alert for springback. This is something a lot of people don't realize with chainsaws and stuff, is be aware of where your tree is leaning. Be aware of your capacity to get away quickly if it starts to fall in the wrong direction. Be aware what is on the limb, because yeah, it'll flip. It's like a spring. Another thing, don't use this when you have kids or pets around, or even other people. It's kind of like gun safety. You want to make sure that you're aware of everybody in the area when you're using it, because sometimes you swing the tool or you're not really connecting in your head that it's a moving blade. It's like any other power tool. Don't be having other people in the direct vicinity. Don't have somebody else holding wood that you're then approaching with the tool. You don't want to be doing that. The product specifications are 21 volt DC, 700 watt horsepower, no load speed is 6,000 RPM. Do not charge these batteries in a very, very cold environment. So don't charge them below 40 degrees or above 105 degrees. Fully recharge batteries after each use. So keep all ventilation openings, clear debris. In other words, the motor needs to be able to breathe. Don't let junk, don't put a cover over this when you're operating it. I do put these in, I put my electric tools in pillowcases when I'm not using them, just to keep dust and dirt off of them. But this definitely needs to breathe. Okay. Just use any ordinary lubricating oil to drip on connection of the chain and the guide plate to oil the electric cordless drill. This is what I have. Again, I have a Husqvarna, their smallest electric chainsaw, and they said this is the specific oil that I need. And so here I have my little bottle. I don't know how big of a mess I'm going to make on my carpet, but I don't like to pour things out in the garage. It may just, me not wanting to pour things out in the garage might be a sign that I should just clean my garage. I don't have a huge amount of faith in this little bottle not leaking, so I probably won't set it back in the holder. This is not an expensive kit, and so sometimes when it's not a super expensive kit, it's meant for home use. Some of the additional parts that are sent are a little bit chintzy. Again, I'm not going to put this in. I'm not going to put this in my carrying case and then expect that I'm going to come back to a clean carrying case. So I'm not going to put it in my carrying case. And then I tried these on, and it has adjustable. It's adjustable to make it shorter or longer, and the shortest one I can't fit on my head, and the longest one, it makes it hard to get this over my nose. So I'm going to get some of my own safety glasses. It's nice that they put these in, especially if you're thinking you have like an all-inclusive kit and you're just going to go cut. But for a big man, these would not work. They would not reach your ears. So nice thought, not super high quality on the glasses. Hey guys, we have had a lot of rain lately, and so my safety glasses that I went and grabbed out of the house are fogging up on me. And I'm probably talking a little louder now because I have on my ear safety. So these simple Harbor Freight glasses are much better. Yeah, I can't see. There we go. I have a stool out here so that I can put the oil and the little chainsaw on, so they're not getting dirty, so they're easy to reach. Now, because of the quality of those glasses, I'm doubting more and more the quality of these gloves. That's not reasonable, but you know, that's what I'm thinking. So generally when working outdoors, I use leather gloves. I like leather gloves. I like them to fit well. They last me a long time because I take care of them. I'm not exactly sure how much good these gloves are going to be compared to my leather gloves. They'd probably be great for like weeding, but I'm not sure how good they are for this application. But anyway, so we are in front of one of my branch piles. These are just the small branches that most big, tough, strong men would leave in the forest to be burned by the Forest Service. But for me, being not a big, tough, strong man, I don't want to waste these. We use them for running through a wood chipper when we can rent a wood chipper, but also they make fantastic kindling. And once they dry, when they're green, it's really easy to use loppers, hand tools to cut these down to size. But once they dry out, they're brittle and it's hard to get them to cut with hand loppers. What I want to do is see if I can get this tool to cut things down into a more manageable size, and if it's intimidating for me. I don't like loud noises. I don't like regular chainsaws. I don't like lawnmowers. I don't like four-wheelers. I really struggle with sensory issues when things are really loud. This, let's see if I can show you. The one thing is, when you push this down, if you're left-handed, as I am, it's a little hard to figure out how to hold it, but we'll show you the first ring-a-ding, which is really interesting because I released the trigger, but the blade kept going. So, yeah, it held still, so it stuck, the trigger stuck a little bit. I had to release the safety button on the side for it to stop spinning. Yeah, it's hard to, in order to hold this down, it's hard to get your finger out, so I'm gonna try and see if I can let go of the safety. Okay, so I'm gonna try and see if I can hold down the safety trigger and start it with just one hand. Okay, that worked a little better. The first few times pushing this safety trigger thing down was a little tricky. So, I like that it has this guard. It protects your hand, but it also protects the trigger. And I pushed my glasses in too far. Fogging up again. All right, so I'm gonna put a little bit of oil I'm not exactly sure where to put it and how much to put. So that's going to be interesting. I wish it had said something. Generally with something like a sewing machine, you don't want to add too much oil. You want like a drop of oil. But because it didn't really say. Oh, the other cool thing is it has this little picture right here. See that little tiny picture? It shows you which way to put the teeth when you put the chain back on. So it has a little diagram right there. I know it's hard to see right there, but that's what that is. That's pretty cool. All right, so I'm just gonna add a little bit. It'll spin around because the chain moves. It'll spin to all the other spots, and I think everything should get oiled just by me putting that little line. I don't know if you can even see that little line. I put a little line of oil there. All right, so first things first. I wish I had some way to hold it down, and I'm afraid to put my hand down here. But that's what I'm gonna do. Okay, kind of pinched a little bit. So. All right, so I did get it cut. I feel like the balance is a little bit weird because it's a light branch. I feel like the branch itself is not heavy enough to hold itself in place so that I can get some good weight behind the cutter. All right, I'm gonna go see if I can use both hands on something that looks a little better weighted, how it does, and maybe a smaller branch. All right, first impression. I always feel really bad about making first impressions instead of using it for a while. I wonder, so here's a free floating pile. They're light, they're buoyant, they want to float. They're not attached to a tree anymore. So I want to give this a run for its money instead of just saying, I don't think this is safe or helpful. For this kind of thing, I don't think it's going to be helpful. It catches too much. Okay, so without being able to brace it against something and having to have my hand right next to the end of the wood, I feel like for the application that I wanted to use it for, it doesn't work. That doesn't mean it wouldn't work for something attached to a tree though, something with a little more weight. So I'm gonna go try it with that. Okay, so I have some apple trees that were girded by my goats back 10 years ago, and the wild tree came up instead of the graft part, and so I cut this back regularly. One day we'll probably graft different apples onto it because it's already alive, but for now I just keep it cut back because I don't want to turn it into this really big wild apple tree. The fruit for it is not good. All right, I think it does require two hands. You have to use a little bit of force. Eventually I figured out that I pretty much just press my palm against the button and then squeeze the trigger. So instead of like trying to hold it down with my finger and then squeeze the trigger, I push on the side. I'll show you here when it's not in my face. So I have my finger on the trigger, but then I push the button in with the side of my hand and then squeeze the trigger. So that's how that works. So once it gets into the tree, it catches just a tiny bit, which makes for a ragged cut. So you can see, let's see if I can show you. You can see, don't look at my face, look at the branch. You can see that it has a ragged cut. This here is not good. I feel like the Husqvarna has a much cleaner cut. This one also has not as much, but a little bit of the same kind of like tearing instead of cutting. My glasses are fogging up again. So that was about a 2-inch, that was about a 2-inch cut. I need to go back through here and paint really quick because this is a fruit tree. So I'll probably go get that really quick and paint it so you can see it. Alright, so I don't care what brand I use. This is the brand I'm currently using, but I go through this, one of these every 2 years, I think. And what it does is it keeps the moisture in the trees from escaping out through that cut, especially in the summer. It's vital. Again, you can see that is really rough. That cut was not clean. So probably it's user error as well on that saw. If I'd done an underside cut, if I'd cut from the bottom first and then gone back and started at the top again, and it did it again. Okay, so I feel like it doesn't matter which side I take it from. I'm gonna end up, because it's a little bit sluggish, it's a little slow, we're gonna have peeled bark on the side no matter what I do. So I'm gonna protect the branch. Well, this actually doesn't protect the branch, this protects the tree. A cut, wet branch like that acts like a straw, and it sucks all the moisture out of the tree through that cut end, and it makes it so that it dries out and it actually kills the branch and can hurt the tree. So, and all of these branches that I've cut have that like fiberglass look, that kind of splintered fiberglass look, and not a beautiful cut. Again, I don't use a lot of chainsaws, so it could just be me, but I don't think it's me. Okay. I found something that is 6 inches. We're gonna see if we can cut it. Am I a little worried about it? A little bit. But this particular branch is kind of going over my cherry trees a little bit. And so if I take it off, it should give some relief to those. And it'll really put the little machine through its paces, so let's try it. I think I'm going to take some weight off with these others really quick. Yeah, I think I am. Alright, I got to turn you a little bit so I can show you what I'm actually cutting. I do find that I want to close my eyes when I use it. Again, that could just be me and my sensory processing. But it's not a fast cut, and you kind of have to brace yourself. Well, it totally worked. Alright, so what started happening was that cover on the top, this cover on the top, lifts a little bit to allow you to keep using the chainsaw, and so it still protects you, but this lifts up so it can take a deeper cut. So that's what happened. I do still have that part on the bottom that fully did not cut, and that's kind of holding it in place right now. right, so my thoughts are it was way easier to cut with it when you had a bigger log. Sorry, may as well take those off. Way easier with the bigger log. Because it's such a light tool, it doesn't cut things of its own weight. Like sometimes with the chainsaw, the weight of the chainsaw actually helps to cut the wood a little bit. With this guy here, it's so stinking light that it wants to bounce off the wood. Unless you can really brace yourself and have something really sturdy to push against, it has enough power to cut through it. It had a lot less like catching with a big log than it did with something that was 2 inches. So I thought that was interesting. I don't know if I can lift this up so you can see how big it is. Okay, so I need to get out and measure that. That may be closer to 5 inches than 6 inches, but still not bad. The hard thing for me to remember is not to push the trigger. I have taken so many gun safety courses, and the design of this is a little problematic for me because it's not a gun, but if I keep one finger here, I'm pushing the safety in, and then I've got other fingers here that might accidentally hit the trigger. And so I'm not sure what the safe way is to carry this, except maybe to carry it in the case. Maybe carry it like that, because there was a tendency for me to carry it like this, like a gun, but then I'm literally hitting that safety trigger every time I do that. So all it would take is for me to stumble and this finger to hit there, and away we go, because it is very easy to just use. So maybe carrying it without the battery in it, only put the battery in it when you're ready to use it. That would kind of resonate with gun safety too. Don't put your ammunition in your gun until you're ready to use it, especially if you're inexperienced. But it doesn't matter how much experience you have, accidents happen. And especially if you're using it and it's like a child using it. On that note, it's cute, it's pink, it's little. That doesn't mean you hand it to your kid. This will tear somebody's face up. This would cut fingers off. Just because a tool is cute doesn't mean it's harmless. And so I have a bow saw that I really, really like. If I wasn't using this today and I felt like I needed to take that limb down, I would have used my bow saw, and it's almost as fast as this is. And it doesn't get sawdust in my face. And I don't have to put on hearing protection. As far as cutting up this really big branch to turn it into firewood, I'm gonna have John use the Husqvarna to cut it up into firewood. And the reason for that is it's efficient. It's efficient, and I could try to cut some more wood with this. I could try to cut it on the ground just so you guys can see, and so I can see how it does on the ground for something a little heavier. But this does not cut off side branches easily. It wants to skip and jump. So we're going to try and cut off this little side piece. Okay, super easy. So it makes a difference what the weight of the tree is. And because the way that I have it supported, it's probably going to pinch the blade. So I don't know if I can come at it from underneath, but I'll try. I'm going to try and cut it from underneath so it doesn't pinch the blade later. Okay, so now I'm going to come from the top. It's still going to try and pinch, so I wish I had another bucket to put under it. Something to support it. What do I have? Hi, honey.
Hi.
How are ya?
Good. Should I go in and clean? Can I ride around the trike? What am I doing?
Yeah, you can ride around the trike. Take the dog away, please.
Right now.
gets stuck. All right, so there we have it, my first piece of wood. For the amount of time that took and the amount of power that just sucked out of this, I don't think that's your most efficient use for this tool. It's good to have multiple tools for multiple purposes, multiple situations. I don't know that you'd want to take a battery-powered chainsaw with you out into the woods unless you had multiple batteries. It's better to take a gas-powered chainsaw out into the woods. This I would not take out into the woods. I think handing a child a chainsaw, because I think most people look at this and think, let's hand it to a woman, let's hand it to a child. Less power does not mean more safe. Generally, more power means more safe because the cut is fast. You can do just as much damage with this blade as you could with a very fast, powerful chainsaw. And with the chainsaw, you have more safety measures. You have to do a pull start. You have the little lever that sits here that you have to knock it forward again if it gets unknocked and that kind of thing. So, education is really important when it comes to using tools like a chainsaw. This one doesn't come with a lot of education because you look at it and you think cute and thus safe. Would I use this again? Sure. I would probably need to go through the instruction manual again, slow myself down, remind myself that cute doesn't mean safe, because you see how close I want to hold it. Because I can just hold it in one hand, I could hold it right up next to my face and not even be thinking about it because it's so light and so cute and so easy that I might forget that it's like one of those turkey slicers. You wouldn't want to hold one of those to your face, but this one is pink, so you want to hold it to your face. This might be a little bit faster than the bow saw, but I really like the bow saw. It's slow, it's deliberate, the sound isn't too intense. I also really like the Husqvarna electric saw, rechargeable saw, but I don't like to use it. I like to watch my husband use it. When John hurt his back in 2015, he had been using a very, very large, I don't even know what it was massive, saw, a little bit, but generally he was using the smallest Husqvarna gas-powered saw, and that worked fine. But I noticed that he was laid up for a few days after cutting wood, and so as a gift last year I bought him the electric Husqvarna. And since buying him that, he's come through. The reason it was harder to find a 6-inch tree to cut with this is because he'd already gone through and cleaned everything up in a day, and well, probably in an hour. And it was fast, it was light, it was easy for him. And so I would say if you're a small woman or a man with some kind of physical disability, an electric chainsaw that's a functioning, good, 100% real chainsaw is perfect for you as long as you get a good education on it. You do need an education when learning how to use a chainsaw because you can kill yourself with it. You could kill somebody else with it. And it's not to be taken lightly. So I think over this, I would say get an education and get a real chainsaw. If you want to use something slow and easy but isn't dangerous, get a bow saw. And I love my bow saw. So hopefully that was helpful. The NaTiddy cutter is a fun idea. I don't think it's safe, and I don't think that it is universally useful. I think in certain parameters it would be useful, but if you're in those parameters, I think a chainsaw works better. So hopefully that was helpful, and we'll talk to you later. Alright, so this little chainsaw is battery operated, and just like any saw, it also needs to breathe. So I keep a pillowcase on it just because we've got other projects going on in the garage, And I don't really want sawdust getting down in there. And I don't want sawdust getting in the breathing vents.
Husqvarna 120i.
120i, and this is where you put the oil in. It does require oil,
Bar
even
oil.
though...
Bar oil, but
Thank
no
you.
engine oil.
Yeah, so bar oil, it's for the chain so that it doesn't overheat, right?
Correct.
So this is the oil that they told me to get. They wanted it to be specific Husqvarna, this type. And John has put this saw through its paces. Okay, so what was the biggest saw that you had? What was that one?
So that was, oh shoot, a 495 XP Husqvarna. So it was a 95cc chainsaw. The thing weighed 20 something pounds. No, 26 pounds I think with the bar. Had a 32-inch bar. Big saw, made for professionals.
And you didn't go to an electric initially. We went down to a
Right.
smaller Husqvarna.
Well, we had a 55cc, yeah. It's a Rancher 455, and that's a good little saw, by the way.
When you go out to cut, what do you actually grab?
So for anything that is not a cord of wood or a half cord of wood, I will grab this just because it's so fast, easy, convenient. I don't need to worry about the priming the engine, making sure the gas is in it, draining the gas at the end of the season, changing filter, spark plugs, any of that. It's just put the battery in and make sure that the bar oil is in it, and then go.
So I spent a little over $300 for this. And the nice thing is that the battery that goes with this is interchangeable with their weed whacker. And one battery, what do you think? 2 hours of solid use?
Solid lightweight use, yes.
Yeah.
Now, we had, sorry, I need the camera for this. So it's really good for stuff this size or smaller. Once you start getting into the bigger stuff, it does it, and it does it okay. But once, you know, if it's for heating logs, I would grab the gas-powered saw. But this one, yeah, 2 hours on that size and smaller. And we trimmed all of the trees on the property, up on the canal bank,
Like an hour.
and down the other side, and then we only still had half of battery left, so I came out the next night and did some more and finally ran it down. So
I store the batteries in my office, not out here. I don't want the charger out here, and I don't want the batteries out here. Extreme temperatures and sawdust are not good for batteries. This is the battery that's a $200, $300 battery that goes with this chainsaw.
$300 chainsaw that goes with the battery.
I actually think the batteries themselves are almost $300. Like, it's like you get a deal, you get a side benefit of getting the saw along with the battery, because they
Right.
charge a lot for the batteries.
This is true.
So, do you want to hold the pink one down so they can see the size difference? So you've got, one thing is weight. When you're cutting firewood, the weight of the saw itself can help with the cutting of the wood. When you're using something light like this and something light like this, they're so light that you have to lean into them just a little bit more, because the weight isn't going to help bring that blade down.
Very true. Also,
Yeah.
the weight, the lack of weight means that there is vibration, and that vibration, I have noticed on this one, actually triggers the safety, and it will kick that brake forward and lock the chain up after you're cutting, as you get this kind of a washboard feel. I don't know what that's called.
That one does the same thing,
Does
except
it?
it doesn't have a safety.
Nice.
Yeah. Does that look like a safe tool to you to be using? Even because I think most people will look at this and think, oh, it's pink and cute, and then they'll forget not to hold it next to their face with their finger on the trigger.
Right.
Whereas with this one, at least you have some kind of memory that, oh, this is a real tool.
Right. Well, and this one's probably not powerful enough for a big kickback, where this one
Yeah,
does
this
have
one-
some torque.
This one never kicked back. It never did, because you
If-
really had to put some weight into it.
Start cutting with that tip of the chain and see if it wants to come back at your face. So.
Yeah, I never tried that.
Don't
I
try
didn't
that?
cut
Okay.
anything big enough.
Oh, good. So that's the trick. Let's see.
I want to show them how much cleaner it is. So you don't get any ripping or tearing at the bottom. It just cuts it straight. It's super duper fast. This is more of like a dead branch, so I probably won't come out and cover that with the black goo. But you saw how fast that was. John's not sweating. He didn't have to lean into it that much. And it's just an incredibly fast tool.
That being said, we keep our chains sharp. We don't know how they sent that one from the factory.
But don't you think that the weight, just the weight alone, and like the blade can get up to a better speed?
Yes, I think that this is an all-around much better product in every possible way.
And you seem to like not mind at all just popping it out of the garage and going doing something with it. It's so fast just to go grab it.
Right. In fairness, the little pink one I might mind because it's blue, or not blue. I mind that it's pink, but other than that, I would,
so
if it worked well, I might just grab it too, so depending on what I'm cutting.
So along with that line, I don't go grab this. This intimidates me. I have found that the last 2 times that I wanted to just go cut a tree, I went and got the pink one. I didn't get my bow saw. I didn't come ask you to cut it. I just grabbed the pink one, and I found it very helpful, even though it's a little bit sluggish and maybe not as safe as this one. Well, so these are the last ones I cut. That one I cut. And that one I cut. I had to climb the tree to do it, and I used the pink one to do it.
Do you want me to take this other dead one off?